I speak with athletes every day, talking through their mechanical issues, talking through how they can get to the next level, and all of these things surrounding performance training when it comes to pitching. And 9 out of 10 times when I go through these conversations with athletes, what I realize is the biggest problem is you. It has nothing to do with your routine, it has nothing to do with your mechanics, it has nothing to do with your nutrition or your lifting program or anything that you think it is. I promise you, the biggest problem throughout all of this is you. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to identify those problems, how to avoid them, and I'm going to actually give you the solution to all of your problems at the end of this video. So stick around to the end so you can have an actual plan to solve the biggest problem, which inevitably is you. One example of one of the problems that I fell into myself is you say you're going to wake up at 8 a.m. and you hit the snooze button. And you justify that by saying, well, I was going to wake up at 8 a.m. to go hit a workout, but I actually don't have class today, so I'll just work out after practice, and it'll be fine because I get my workout in anyway. And you and I both know that that's bullshit. Like, you said you were going to wake up at 8 a.m. and you hit the snooze button. Now, yes, did you get the workout in that you said you were going to do? 100%, but you got it when it was convenient for you, because waking up at 8 a.m. wasn't convenient. You didn't want to do that. But you told yourself before you went to sleep, you set the alarm for 8 a.m. and you told yourself you were going to wake up and you didn't. And you justify it by saying, well, I mean, I got my workout in anyway. Does it really matter? Yeah, because when you got your workout in, it was convenient for you. It was later in the day. You could eat a little bit. You could wake up. You didn't have to hit that 8 a.m. alarm, get out of bed, put your shoes on, make your bed, take your pre-workout, get hydration in, maybe eat a little meal and get to the gym and start grinding at 8:30 in the morning. That didn't seem appealing to you, so you hit the snooze button and told yourself it's not a big deal. I got my workout in anyway. That's the most important part, right? And partially that's true, right? I'd rather you work out that day than skip it, but you did it when it was convenient for you. So what you're telling yourself subconsciously is, yeah, you'll do stuff, but only really when it's convenient for you. Like, yeah, I'll hit a workout, and obviously workouts aren't easy, but I'm gonna do it when I feel like it. I'm not gonna do it when I don't feel like it, or when I say that I'm gonna do it, but I just do it later, and it's fine, right? It's fine, right? So you're just subconsciously telling yourself that when things gets hard, you're subconsciously telling yourself when things get hard, you choose the easier option. That's what you're telling yourself by skipping this alarm and snoozing, but you convince yourself that it's okay. So this is one of the examples of something you're doing on a weekly basis, if not a daily basis, of avoiding something and just telling yourself it's okay that you did it later. Now, one of the other ones you're probably falling into is you're on a diet right now or some sort of meal plan and you cheat on it. And again, you probably tell yourself that it's okay. I put in a ton of work today, so it's all right if I kind of go over my calories and I don't really monitor and track every single calorie. Like, it's all right. Like, I'm just gonna throw this ketchup on my eggs and I'm not gonna track it. It's all right. Like, I'll probably be good. It's like, no, because how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you let the little things slip, eventually those become huge problems. So if you're on a diet right now or some sort of meal plan and you just cheat on it, one day a week, and you think it's okay because, like, if your goal is to, like, lean down and you're leaning down, it's like, yeah, obviously the end goal is for you to lean down, but you're not exactly doing it in the way that you set out to, because you set out to be on a diet, eat the right foods, and you're really only doing that on the days where, like, you feel like you can kind of do it, right? The days where you're like, yeah, I mean, I could probably do my diet today. But on the days where it's hard, where it's difficult, where if you're trying to gain weight, when you don't want to eat that last rice cake or bagel or piece of dry chicken, you don't want to do it, but you do it anyway. Why? Because how you do anything is how you do everything, and you need to do things regardless of how you feel. And we'll get into that at the end of this video. But this is another example that I see all the time with athletes where they set out with a meal plan, they got a nutritionist, or they're in sort of our program where we give our athletes nutrition, and they just kind of do it, but they don't go all the way. They cheat on it once a week, or they'll get the meal plan, they'll look at it, and it's like, I'll kind of make this my own. I'll do some other things. And then you wonder why you're not getting the results you want. And again, subconsciously, you're just telling yourself that you'll do things when it's convenient for you, but when it becomes inconvenient, you're not willing to do them. Now, the one that I most commonly see with athletes is, I'll do that on, XYZ date, and then you don't do it, right? You tell your coach, like, yeah, no, I'll get that stuff to you on Tuesday, and then Tuesday rolls around, you don't get it to him, he's wondering what's going on, and you come up with some excuse, but in reality, it wasn't that important to you, so you just didn't do it. The worst one out of all of this, and I touched on this in the first example, is actually when you tell yourself you're gonna do something on XYZ date, and you don't. Conor McGregor has a great quote on this, where he's talking about kind of how he got to where he is, right? How did he start from this like no-name fighter to now being the most recognizable face in the UFC and a two-time champion? Like, how did he do that? And he said when he first started doing training, he told himself, I would wake up at 8 a.m. I didn't wake up at that time. I told myself, don't eat that. I ate that. I told myself, don't drink that. I drink that. He's like, and I slowly was just conditioning myself that I don't do what I say I'm going to do. And that when things get hard, I don't do it, right? He's a two-time champion in the toughest industry there probably is to become a champion in, right? The UFC, cutting weight, all of these things that these fighters have to do is by far the toughest thing a lot of them will ever have to do in their life. And most of you would not even want to come close to what those athletes have to do with weight cuts and things like that. But how did he go from kind of doing stuff like this to then eventually being a guy who's a two-time champion and is now synonymous with the UFC and synonymous with success and wealth and extravagant lifestyle? How did that happen? Well, he consciously made the choice that he wasn't going to do these things to himself anymore. And the biggest thing was that he was no longer going to lie to himself. If he said he was going to do something, he was going to do it. If you tell yourself you're going to do something, you have to do it regardless of how you feel. And that's a perfect way to transition us into the solution to the biggest problem, which I said at the beginning of the video, is actually you. So the first solution is to sit with your thoughts. Now, why is this so important? On average, a human being gets over 20,000 thoughts a day. And the more you attach to certain thoughts, the more they repeat in your mind and the more it's harder for you to get rid of them. Now, a lot of you either struggle with confidence, with performance anxiety, with a ton of things mentally. And a lot of it is because I told you to sit in this chair in front of me that you guys can't see in the frame and not listen to music, not read anything, not scroll on social media, and I told you to sit there for an hour, you'd struggle with that. Probably like 20 minutes in, you'd start to want to do something, you'd want to pick something up, you'd want to distract yourself because you've never sat alone with yourself. And what you'll find is when you actually do that, when you do sit alone with your own thoughts and you just let things bubble to the surface, you find things out about yourself. You find out what you're actually struggling with. You find out why maybe you are lying to yourself. Why is it hard for you to wake up at 8 a.m. every day? Why is it hard for you when you say you're going to go do something, you don't do it? And you'll actually come up with what the root cause is. And for all of you, it's different. For all of you, it's something different. For me, I wanted control of every situation because my life felt really out of control at a young age when it came to baseball. I didn't have control of the outcomes. I didn't have control of playing time. I didn't have control of anything. So I wanted control of my entire baseball career. So when I sat alone with my thoughts and really looked through of why I was doing certain things, it was to try to give myself this illusion of control, which wasn't even there, right? So that was it for me. For you, it's going to be something completely different. But the first thing, the first solution is you need to sit down, avoid all distractions, and really listen to yourself. What is exactly going through your mind on a day-to-day basis? Number two is once you've sat down with your thoughts, now it's time to actually write them down. Journal about them. And don't have any expectations when you go into this journaling. Just start writing. Figure out exactly what you want to talk about. And you might just sit and stare at that paper for a little bit, but eventually you're going to write some things down and you're going to come up with some solutions to the problems that you're dealing with. And sometimes it's okay in those journals to literally just ask yourself questions. Why did I skip weights today? Why didn't I do the workout I said I was going to do? Why every time I get close to my goals does it feel like I sabotage myself? Why? And the more and more you ask yourself those questions, the more you sit with your thoughts, you're actually going to come up with the solution to these problems. But if you never take the time to do this, if you never sit down with your thoughts, if you never journal, if you never take the time to actually just be alone with yourself and figure out why you're doing the things you're doing, you're never going to come up with a solution. And you're going to be the guy that's wondering why you never got lucky or things never went your way. And, why was I always like last pick, or why was I always the guy who was right there and I just couldn't get past that certain point? Because the biggest obstacle in your way is you, right? There's a great book called The Mountain Is You, where it really just talks about how we all have these things that we have in front of us, like a mountain, like we're trying to climb up Mount Everest. And the biggest thing while we're going up this mountain is we feel like there's all these things in our way, and we look at this huge mountain that we have to climb. And the whole time, it was yourself. Like that was the thing that you needed to climb and get over this whole time. Because 99% of people are standing in their own way and they don't even realize it. And they just start blaming other things. They blame other people. They blame circumstance. They blame their upbringing. They blame this. They blame that. When really it was just themselves this whole time. So if you're not in a place that you want to be in your baseball career, I'm promising you the biggest obstacle in your way is yourself. The last one, and by far the most important, is keep your word. Now, this doesn't only apply to people in your life, whether it's a coach, your family, your girlfriend, whatever, your job, whatever it is that you're doing right now, and somebody that you said you were going to do something with, and you need to keep that. But the biggest thing is you need to keep your word to yourself. If you say you're going to do something, you need to do it. If after you watch this video, you said you were going to go meal prep, you have to go do that, because you need to keep your word regardless of how you feel, right? Some of you, when it comes to the weight room, you can keep your word on that because you tell yourself like, oh yeah, I don't really want to work out, but I told myself I would, so you go. And that's and again, that is a win, but at the end of the day, you love lifting. So it's not that hard to do it. But when you have to go shopping for groceries, or you have to, go bring your car in, you have to go pump your tires, you have to go do things that are just like monotonous that you don't want to do. You have to clean the dishes, and you tell yourself, all right, after I eat, I'll clean the dishes, and then you leave it for tomorrow. Or I'll clean my room after I study, and then you study and you don't want to clean your room anymore. I don't give a fuck how you feel. If you tell yourself you're going to do something, you got to keep your word, because otherwise it just brings us back to the same loop that you're finding yourself in over and over and over again of saying you're going to do something, you don't do it, and then you're wondering why you're not getting the recognition or the things you want in your career, and it is simply because you are standing in your own way. So I hope that this video resonated with you. I hope you understand kind of the traps that you're letting yourself fall into and the excuses that you're telling yourself, and how you have 3 actionable steps now that you can take starting right after this video for you to actually address these problems and really realize that you don't need a new drill. You don't need a new workout routine. You don't need a new program. You don't need any of that shit. You just need to do these 3 things, and you will be so much more successful than anybody in your path right now. Because when you decide that you're just going to do these 3 things and you're just going to keep going forward regardless of how you feel, you will look to your left and your right, and you will just see people falling off over and over and over again. Because the majority of people seek comfort and they don't want to do hard things. So if you do the opposite and you do things regardless of how you feel, you're not seeking comfort, you're doing things when things have to be done regardless of what's going on, you're going to be extremely successful. So again, I hope you got value out of this video. And as always, stud muffins, go prove them wrong.